Most people stay stuck longer than they should be simply because they don't trust God. And I think that it boils down to really two core pieces. Now, before I give you those, you find this in the Bible where there's a story in Exodus where the Israelites, who are God's people in the Bible, they are held into exile. So they're put to slave work. They are essentially held to Egyptian rule. And they were there for hundreds of years. And God picked a man called Moses, and Moses came out as God's chosen guy. And you've probably read it, probably haven't, where he parts the Red Sea under God's power. He hits the staff on the ground, and God parts the sea. And the Israelites, after being held captive for hundreds of years, are now free people. And the sea closes up. The rest is history, where the Egyptians are washed up and they are essentially all wiped out. And God did that in an instant, right? And I'm obviously oversimplifying it for the purpose of this video. But the reason why I say that is because historians believe that the journey from where the Israelites were to what was called the promised land should have been right around a 10 to 12-day trip, more so, right? Could be plus or minus, could be more, could be less, but they all agree it should have just been a couple of weeks. But if you read closely, you'll notice that they were in the desert for 40 some odd years, which means that they were stuck in a loop longer than they should have been. Why do I bring this up, and why is this even important to you? Like, how is this applicable to you? I think that the reason why we tend to be stuck in situations longer than we should be, whether that's issues in our business, issues relationally, issues with our finances, issues in our social settings, even issues with ourselves, is because we don't fully trust God. And if we're being honest with ourselves, there's an aspect of disobedience whenever God gives us a clear instruction to move either in a certain direction or to stay or to stand still, that we just flat out disregard altogether. And I think that the two reasons why that is, I'm going to give you the first one, and that is you've been let down so many times that you don't know what real trust actually looks like. And so whenever you feel that, hey, I think God is tugging on me to start this thing, you all of a sudden start coming up with all the reasons of why it wouldn't work, or how you think that maybe, hey, I think it's a mistake. I don't think that this would actually work for me because insert limiting belief. And we do this at every level, by the way. We do this when we are picking our partners. If you're not married yet, she wouldn't go for me because XYZ. He wouldn't go for me because of my past or because of what I've done or who I've been, whatever the heck it is. But then we also do it inside of our businesses. There's no way that this business idea would take off the way that it would because, like who's going to buy from me or who's actually going to be into a product like this. And so what ends up happening is that we start to put God inside of this box, and if there's anything about God, anytime you try to put him in that box, he's going to make sure that he smashes that box and you never try to use that again. Because one of my favorite and most powerful verses is the following. God says, I am not a man so that I should lie, nor that I should go back on my word. And so if you know that God's been tugging on you to do something or for you to end something, whatever, like wherever it is that you are now, and you haven't done that thing, because in order for you to build more trust with God and for him to build more trust with you, there's an exchange of obedience that happens. And so if you start looking at obedience as a currency between the relationship account between you and God that you constantly invest in, versus it being, hey, I'm going to give you an order and you better follow through with this. If not, you're going to be reprimanded. It's going to serve you far better. The second reason why I think trust is so difficult, apart from a lot of us feeling like, hey, I've been let down in the past, either from myself or by other people, is because we just flat out want to know every single detail about every single thing. And trusting God and obedience doesn't work that way. So if you feel prompting, or if you start to feel a conviction, this is like the way that at least I feel, because this is the way that I've encountered it. I start to feel a conviction and I start to feel this unease in a good way, of course, where, man, I really feel like I should go up to that person and give them $10. Like, I don't even know them, but let me give them $10. Or I really think that I should call so and so and just ask them, hey man, how's your day going like today? Like, everything cool? Even if I haven't spoken to this person in a long time, or just shooting them a quick text. I say that because we automatically want to know the next step of, when I do this, what comes next? If I do that, like, what are the actions that follow? And whenever God is starting to work something out in your life, I think that he holds certain information from it so that, again, you don't box him into those previous outcomes that you've had in the past. Because if you get too much too quickly, you see, we're creatures of habit. And one of the ways that we've survived through evolution is by pattern recognition. And so, if, like, right now I'm recording outside, so in front of me, there's a tree, some bushes, right? And so we've gotten really good, just from our natural coding, of looking at a thing and saying, hey, I think that there could be something behind that tree that could probably strike me dead. But I'm actually seeing that there's less leaves around it. So I think I'm safe. Now, if there was a bunch of bushes in front of me and there's a lake behind it, I probably wouldn't be recording in this exact setting, because there could be some snakes, there could be something venomous. And so, like, when you take a look at that pattern recognition and you put it into what God wants to do in your life, it could actually end up hurting you later on as God tries to grow something in your life, because you start to compare it to all the other times that something that looked like this failed. And so there's a book, I want to say that it's called Your Body Keeps a Score. And it talks a lot about anxiety. And it talks a lot about how your body starts to hold anxiety in certain places. And they have like a whole bunch of research and science around it of how stress and it's telling your body. The whole purpose of that, and why I bring this up, is because our bodies do a really good job of trying to protect us. So much so that it even tries to protect us from some of the promises and some of the things that God wants to give you. And so if you're only going off of your fleshly desire of whether or not I should make this decision or not, and you don't actually consult with God in like through prayer and what we call through the spirit realm. I know it's I'm overly simplifying it right now, but it really just is a conversation between you and God with whatever words come out of your mouth. Then you start to move from the realm of, I'm just going to make these decisions based off of what I've seen in the past, which is a no go, especially when especially when you're dealing with something new. But then you also start to get some insight on, man, I actually didn't consider this perspective. And it's almost like you start to receive this download. And I'm just giving it to you from the way that I've maybe perceived things with how God's been dealing in my life with certain things. But I think that the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I see a lot of people, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're just someone who wants to make a transition in your life. And again, you've been let down either by yourself, by other people, or you just want to know all the details versus trusting in God. I was going to say trust the process, but in this case, it's trusting the God, or trusting God through the process, so that you can see it on the other side. So that new thing that you're thinking about embarking on, or that you're thinking about taking on, actually comes to pass and you start breaking out of the loop that you've been in this entire time.